I apologise that I have held people up. I will do better. I welcome to our April council meeting. I think everyone knows me, Lorraine Young. I'm the Mayor and I'll be the presiding member for this evening. And I'll draw your attention to a few things. The first is the disclaimer on the inside of the agenda pack. That was available as you walk in. The second was I'd like to just point out that we are live streaming our council meetings, so anyone here this evening, and particularly anyone speaking at the meeting, may be caught on the recording, and that will be live streamed. It is being live streamed, and it will be available on the town's website. So I will also draw your attention to the rules of procedure that govern how these meetings run, and they're to be found under the Council tab on the town's website, under our meeting procedures local law, and in particular I draw your attention to the sections relating to public participation. I'll note that the rules of procedure allow members of the public to speak for up to 3 minutes at public question time. Public questions can be on any matter of council business, and also limit members of the community, or allow members of the community up to 3 minutes to make public statements on items on the agenda. And I will ask, we do have quite a few items that are being called up this evening, so I think we might be here for a little while, so I will ask members of the public to stick to those 3 minute requirements. I will start off by acknowledging the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional custodians of the land where we're meeting this evening, and pay respects to their elders, past and present. I do have an announcement without discussion. This is our the April OCM, Ordinary Council meeting, will be the last meeting that our CEO, Matthew Scott, will be sitting in this chair. He may choose to come along to meetings afterwards and sit out in the public gallery. I would like to take the opportunity to say a few words about Mr Scott, and for the purpose of this I'm going to dispense with the formalities and refer to Mr Scott as Matthew. So Matthew, this will be your last council meeting, but you've still got at least 5 big sleeps before the next part of your life. I'm just reflecting back on your time with us. You joined us right in the middle of COVID, which was a really tricky time for all organisations. When you joined us, our integrated planning framework documents and our planning scheme were out of date. There was a lot of work required to get those documents up to date. We were also working on our precinct plan for Cottesloe Village, and in addition our community amenities had not been upgraded for quite a number of years and were in need of upgrade. So in your time with the council, with the town, which is just shy of 5 years, we have finalised our council plan. You introduced us to the modern practice in integrated planning, in delivering a council plan, and that has delivered actions in order for us to deliver for our community, and we have set achievable, ambitious but achievable timeframes for achieving those actions. Our local planning strategy and the village precinct plan have been endorsed, and they're now sitting with the WAPC. As I say, there has been a lot of work involved on that work. It's required work by our planning staff and by the administration, and it's really great that you have got us to this stage. Under your leadership, we have delivered on a number of major projects for the community. We did the Dutch Inn Playground, the Anderson Pavilion, the East Cottesloe Playground and the Cottesloe Skate Park. You steered us well through those processes, you and your staff, and importantly, you ensured that we got funding for those projects where we could. We did get full funding for the Cottesloe Skate Park, which was a really remarkable achievement. And we also got full funding for the Cottesloe Shark Barrier for the capital cost. And despite the little visit by Bronzy earlier this year, it has been really good news for the community and for all users of Cottesloe Beach. You have managed the day-to-day running of the town. Your detailed understanding of the regulatory framework of local government is faultless, and we have been very well guided by you. You have also, generally, you've managed to maintain your composure and good humour, and you have also taken the time on quite a few occasions to cook some really fabulous sausages for our community. On behalf of Cottesloe Council and the Cottesloe community, I would like to thank you for your work for our community and wish you all the very best for the next stage of your career. Thank you. I don't know if you want to say anything now. Or?
Thank you very much for your very kind words. Very kind words. Other than that, well, I may reserve my response until the end of the meeting, just to see how the last meeting goes.
Probably, yeah, very good approach. So, thank you. I'm going to move to the formal part. Do we have any apologies this evening? Councillor Bulbeck is so no apologies. Councillor Bulbeck is on approved leave of absence. And do we have any? I'll come to Councillor Heath, who's up there on the screen at the moment. In fact, I'll do that now. Councillor Heath will be joining us remotely from Exmouth, I believe. Councillor Heath, could you please make the declarations that you're required to make in order to participate in the meeting?
Yes. I declare that I have not attended more than half of council meetings held in the last 12 months under an authorisation from the Mayor or Council to attend by electronic means. The location from which I am attending the meeting and the equipment I intend to use to attend the meeting are suitable for me to be able to effectively engage in deliberations and communications during the meeting, and I can maintain confidentiality during any part of the meeting which is closed to the public.
Thank you very much, Councillor Heath, and on that basis I'm very happy to grant you the approval to attend remotely. Thank you, and thank you for joining us. Applications for leave of absence, is there no applications? Were there any?
All staff, through the chair, all staff are present. They're on the agenda.
Thank you very much. So, declarations of interest. Oh, hang on, wait on. I'm ahead of myself. Sorry, I do apologise to the members of the public who are here because I've jumped ahead. So I'm going right back to public question time. I apologise, but anyway, we've dealt with the formalities and do we have public questions as a statement? Do we have any questions?
No.
Are you sure? We have no public questions, as I understand. So we have some public statements. Just one? Mrs. Hart? Mrs. Hart, are any parts of these questions that you're requiring an answer to? Or is
Madam Mayor, no, I think they're all contained.
Okay.
My questions really are rhetorical questions rather than those that need an answer.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So, Madam Mayor and elected members, my public statement is for Agenda 10.1.2, guiding principles for the development of the Northcote Surf Club roof. And I did circulate an email to you earlier this afternoon, realising, of course, that you have a very busy day today and you may not have had time to read it. So in relation to agenda item 10.1.2, I strongly suggest that you reject every one of the 5 principles that have been presented to you. Principle 1 is the development is to be single storey. We have a beach policy, was set up by the previous council in 2004, with building controls that states limit the construction of any enclosed and roof structures west of Marine Parade to replacement only. This is a new development that breaches the beach policy, and this new development will not enhance the public amenity as it is claimed. Principle 2, structures to be compatible with the character and surrounding built form. And I suggest to you that a repurposed sea container or something similar will not integrate with the surrounding built form. And I suggest to you also, it will not contribute positively to the visual character of the beachfront. Principle 3, improvements at the conclusion of the lease term to be removed. So how long would the lease likely be? What structures, what improvements, and what services are to be built and then removed? Principle 4, the proposal must include secure locker facilities. Every suggestion in this paragraph is headache material. Locker facilities, ice showers, wellness features. One assumes that council toilets and change rooms under the Magic Apple are to be used and maintained by council. Principle 5, the club and the operator is to assume risk and costs. The proponent is responsible for obtaining all required development and building approvals. So who is the proponent? Well, what development and building approvals will be required? And will the town of Cottesloe approve development and building against its own beach policy? Or is it likely that approval will be sought from the Department of Planning? So in conclusion, the ski shed roof is a highly used viewing platform and it's not a dead zone. The beach policy should be applied rather than council support attempts by the surf club to maximise development proposal, with residents and ratepayers unlikely to welcome this latest proposal, especially since council has just approved sauna operations at Indiana. I strongly suggest that you do not accept any of the 5 guiding principles and apply the beach policy as it is intended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hart.
Madam Mayor, could I just, through you, may I ask that elected members, when they speak, to speak through the microphone, because it really is quite difficult when listening through live streaming to hear members speaking if they talk across the room and don't use the microphone properly. So it would be lovely if elected members could keep that in mind. Although I must say that Councillor Heath has come through loud and clear this evening. And finally, I would like to thank the CEO for his time in Cottesloe. I know you're moving on to greener pastures, and the very best of wishes to you for your future in local government or beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hart. Just in respect of your statements, I just want to clarify that what we're being asked to do is not to approve a proposal. It's so at the moment what we're looking at is developing effectively parameters for a proposal. That doesn't, the other points that you make can stand, but we're not actually approving anything this evening. What is not stated in the officer's report at this moment, or the officer's recommendation, but I have spoken with the CEO, and I will be moving an amendment to make explicit what was already the intention of the administration, which is that this will go out for public consultation, and the views of stakeholders and members of the community will be sought, bearing in mind that the beach policy doesn't bind council. So if there is a proposal that council thinks the community might like, it is open to us to consult the community to see if we're right, if there's strong support, and whether it's the sort of thing that we could support. So we're not approving anything, and it will I understand from the CEO that the intention is to consult the community anyway, but just for peace of mind of the community members, I will be moving that as an amendment to the officer's recommendation. So this is not the final part of this story.
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. I do understand what you are saying. I realise that they are the principles perhaps going forward, but as I was reading it without the benefit of being part of a workshop, it seemed to me as those principles could be used in the future for some future development or opportunity on the ski shed roof. But thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, going back to the agenda. So we're down to declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest in respect of agenda items this evening? Councillor Sadler.
Thank you. I just wanted to declare an impartiality interest in respect of item 10.1.8, Marine Parade Shared Path Public Consultation. I'm a board member of West Cycle, but I just want to clarify there are no, I'm not involved in grant applications or anything for that, but just to make sure that's clear for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other declarations of interest? No. Okay, then I shall move on to confirmation of minutes, and we are asked to confirm that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on Tuesday the 25th of March 2025 be confirmed as a true and accurate record. Do I have a mover? Councillor Harkins, and a seconder? Councillor Thomas. All in favour? That's unanimous. I've noted that Councillor Heath is has raised her hand as well. So,
General meeting minutes. Next item underneath the confirmation.
oh, okay then. Okay. Is that for us to do? Okay.
There's a report about it.
Yeah, but I thought that the electors' meeting confirmed their own meeting minutes. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll do it. There's no harm done. Do I have a mover that the minutes of the annual general meeting of electors held on Tuesday, 18th March 2025 be confirmed as a true and accurate record? Councillor Harkins, Councillor Irvine, seconding. All in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. So we are going to move then and identify the items that have been called up for debate.
Through the Chair, Madam Mayor, the items currently called up are 10.1.2, Guiding Principles for the Development of North Cottesloe Surf Club, Saving Club, Surf Life Saving Club, Ski Shed Roof. Item 10.1.6, Napoleon Street, Cottesloe Village Business Association Spring Installation Proposal. Item 10.1.8, Marine Parade Shared Path Public Consultation. Item 10.1.9, Budget Amendment Foreshore Handrails. Item 10.1.11 has to be called up because it requires an absolute majority. That's 2025 local government elections. And items 13.1.1 and 13.1.2 are called up as they're to be discussed behind closed doors.
Okay then. So that means that the following items will be decided en bloc, and for the benefit of the public, what that means is items that go through passed by resolution en bloc are taken as being passed in the terms of the officer's recommendation. So they're without debate or amendment. So it's what the officer has recommended will be taken as the resolution in respect to those items. So the items that will be going through en bloc will be put to the meeting en bloc are 10.1.1, monthly financial statements for the period ending 31 March 2025, 10.1.3, draft local planning policy number 5, unhosted short-term rental accommodation, STRA, 10.1.4, public open space strategy, 10.1.5, skate park mural, 10.1.7, North Street tree removal request, 10.1.10, receival of minutes of the annual general meeting of electors, and 10.1.12, CEO quarterly information bulletin, and finally item 10.2.1, receipt of Seaview Golf Club Redevelopment Advisory Committee minutes. Do I have a mover that those items that I've identified are put to the meeting en bloc? That's moved Councillor Sadler, seconded Councillor Mason. All in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. So going back to the items that have been called up, starting off with item 10.1.2, guiding principles for development on North Cottesloe Surf Life Saving Club ski shed roof on page 12, with the officer's recommendation on page 14. There were amendments, I just need to, okay, thank you. Do I have a mover of the officer's recommendation on this item? Councillor Harkins, just bear with me, so that's 10.1.2. And a seconder for this motion, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Harkins, did you want to speak to the item?
Can I just confirm, is yours an amendment or
An amendment,
or
an amendment.
right? Okay, thank you. Just to say that I think you, at the beginning of the meeting, you, addressing Mrs. Hart's comments, made it clear of what we're actually doing tonight. We're not approving a sauna, we're just approving the guiding principles moving forward. So I think that's a sensible way to progress, and there'll be plenty of time down the track to put it out for public consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harkins. Councillor Thomas, did you want to add anything to that?
I'll reserve my right.
Thank you. I might take the opportunity to move the amendment that I had foreshadowed earlier. There we go. Are we able to get that up on screen? Can we share it? I will read out the terms of the amendment that I'm proposing, which is that the officer's recommendation be amended to read as follows, with changes to the text marked in red. So paragraphs 1 to 5 remain as per the officer's recommendation, and then there's a new paragraph, and that council notes 6, that financial arrangements relating to the use of the space and possible financial contribution towards beautification and maintenance of the ski shed roof area are to be separately discussed and agreed with the proponent of any redevelopment and activation. And 7, community consultation and consultation with neighbouring businesses will be carried out before approval is given to any proposal for activation and redevelopment of the ski shed roof, other than changes not involving built form or commercial use. Do I have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Harkins. So in brief, as I mentioned to Mrs. Hart, the inclusion of paragraph 6 clarifies that that's the first part, the inclusion of paragraph 6, is just to make it very clear that we're broadly talking about design principles, and that separately there may be financial discussions about financial arrangements, and that's included to avoid the risk that the proponent and the public reading the resolution may assume that there are to be no arrangements between the town and the proponent for the use of the space. So it's just to flag that this resolution is not about that, and that will be discussed separately. The inclusion of paragraph 7 is to make clear the administration's intention to ensure that appropriate consultation with the community and with stakeholders takes place to establish if there is support for a proposal before the approval for the proposal is given. I think that's fairly straightforward, and that's all I have to say.
Yes, I'd like to endorse the amendment, particularly point 7. We discussed in the agenda forum last week, Mr Patterson asked a question regarding, I think it was Longview, one property, and of course there's Magic Apple that does look, the clients at Magic Apple do look onto the ski shed, so I think it's important, and I know that the CEO answered that it would be included, but I think it's helpful for the community, as the Mayor said, to have it in writing that we fully intend to consult with definitely the two neighbouring businesses, but also the community at large. So I think it's very sensible to have that in writing included as part of the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Harkins. Does anyone want to speak against the amendment? Councillor.
I just have a question. In terms of the financial arrangements, it says possible financial contribution. Is it contemplated that that's a contribution from the town, or a contribution from the surf club, or a contribution from the opponent, or from
I think look, my intent, or when I was writing this, I was considering contribution from the proponent or the surf club, but I think having it wide, because all it's saying is there's more to come. So did anyone want to speak against the amendment? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Oh, can we have Councillor Heath back on the thing? There we go. Okay.
Albeit small.
Can we get Councillor Heath a bit bigger? Councillor Heath, can you just say your vote? Just say yes at the appropriate time, because we've got you very small on the screen. So all in favour?
Yes.
And none against. So that's passed unanimously. Thank you. So going back to the substantive motion, did anyone want to speak against the substantive motion? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? That's passed unanimously. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Heath. So that's again passed unanimously. Thank you. So the next item for consideration is 10.1.6, Napoleon Street, Cottesloe Village Business Association Spring Installation Proposal on page 29. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Harkins, and a seconder? Councillor Mason. Councillor Harkins, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, I think it's fabulous that Procot are being proactive in wanting to beautify Napoleon Street, because it is our prime shopping area, and I think it sounds lovely having pots with plants, and I think we should move as quickly as we can and endorse their proposal. Thank you.
Councillor Mason.
Yes, I concur with Councillor Harkins and appreciate the efforts of the Procot Group and trying to make Napoleon Street as attractive as possible. I think it's a great initiative.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. I'm going to take the opportunity to move an amendment which I have circulated to earlier today, and the terms of the amendment are that the officer's recommendation be amended by deleting the text in paragraph 1I and replacing with the following I. The matter shall be referred to council for a decision should the CEO be of the view that this approval needs to be withdrawn on reasonable grounds. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Mason, thank you. The reason for this is it's just a slight tightening up. The condition currently in the officer's recommendation is just that the CEO can pull approval. I can't recall the exact wording. perhaps someone can direct me.
Through the chair, the wording is actually at the moment, or the officer's recommendation was the town reserves the right to withdraw the approval should there be a justified reason to do so.
Yeah.
There may be some misinterpretation of
Yeah.
the town being either the CEO or the council. So.
Yeah. And look, the reason for the suggested change is that it comes back to council. It's not going to be an administrative matter. It's to send reassurance to Procot, and I think thank you for the elected members who've spoken to the motion, and I'd like Procot to understand that we do support this, and that ultimately it will be not an administrative decision to pull the approval if it became necessary on reasonable grounds, but it would come back to council. The Procot is proposing to put quite a significant investment into this, and there's a lot of time and effort. And I think to have the prospect of it being with the approval being withdrawn within a month or two on what might be perceived from an administrative point of view as reasonable grounds, I think that we should give them the reassurance that the elected members who really value Procot's work will have some oversight on that. I'm just looking at who seconded my amendment. Councillor Mason. Did you want to speak to that, Councillor Mason?
I have nothing to add
Yeah,
further to
thank
your
you.
comment.
Did anyone want to vote against the proposed amendment? I'll put it to the vote then. All in favour? That's unanimous. I can see Councillor Heath there. And returning to the substantive motion, did anyone want to speak against the substantive motion? No. I'll put the substantive motion to the vote. All in favour?
Yes.
Thank you. That's passed unanimously. We're moving on. Here we go. Marine Parade Shared Path Public Consultation. This is at 10.1.8 on page 35. Are you, Councillor Sadler, are you moving an alternative motion?
My
Oh.
proposal was to move an alternate councillor motion, and I was actually happy to incorporate the elements that Councillor Thomas had circulated as well. If I had a second, I can read it out first.
I'm just wondering, this item didn't come to the agenda forum, so there wasn't the opportunity for councillors to ask questions. It had come to a briefing forum, but at that stage we didn't have the officer's recommendation. Did anyone have any questions on the matter generally? Councillor Wilinko.
First, just to clarify, so the officer's recommendations amended, I take it?
Yes, through
So
the chair, I sent out a slight amendment to point 1 of the officer's recommendation, which basically expands the first dot point on page 36, just to say that the consultation would be A, stage 1 and 2, it follows the current path alignment, and stage B, stage 3, would be built at the end of stages 1 and 2. Hopefully by that stage we would have funding for the Foreshore Master Plan implementation. So just clarify the query we received from the Mayor the other day on that point 1. Can you bring that up?
Did anybody have questions on the item? Councillor Sadler?
Look, thank you very much, Mayor, through you to the administration with regard to the Marine Parade stage. I'm really wanting to sort of understand if consideration's been given to the possibility with regard to the current proposal from the administration is to had to find the foreshore master plan as coming, ending at Napier Street. I know we had an email back from the administration, but I just wonder if consideration has been given that if we achieve the master plan foreshore funding, then we've actually got two projects which don't align, was the first thought. And because the foreshore master plan ends at Eric Street, and we may have actually at that same time decided to fund a proposal and have a contract out for something which actually is overlapping potentially. If we have Napier Street to the North Street is one project which we've contracted for, and another one which we're supposed to be putting out, which is foreshore master plan, which goes and includes Napier Street and extends all the way to Napier. You'll actually have overlapping projects. So I that was my first question to understand.
Councillor Sadler, can I just say, I think you might have mixed up some of the streets.
Napier Street and Eric Street are where two proposals are supposed to end. The foreshore master plan ends at Eric Street, and then the proposal is for the stages for this to be is that we have the stage 2 be Napier Street to North Street. So those two things actually overlap.
But
And so
it says Eric to North Street. Oh, this is yours. Yes.
yeah. So it's like that's my question: is are we going to potentially have conflicting / overlapping projects? Is my first question, and then. Yes, I really want to understand that, and also I'm wanting to understand actually in what we put out, we actually have got in the foreshore master plan at the moment, everything relating to walking and cycling is actually at detailed design from Forest Street to Eric Street. We have a detailed design which includes all that, so I'm just wanting to understand if we're actually reopening that idea, or we're just going, no, that's done, and we're just dovetailing into those bits, because that does actually impact what goes out to tender. So, because my amendment or my alternate motion just contemplates actually describing the foreshore master plan as the foreshore master plan, Forest Street to Eric Street, so there's no issues. So I really want to understand that, what the really good reason would be for doing anything other than aligning with the master plan.
Through the Chair, I'll provide a brief response and might defer to the Director of Engineering Services. So at the moment we have got confirmation of funding in regards to the entire path, in regards to from the federal government, and if we are in a position where we can go out to tender for the stage 2, which at the moment the officer's recommendation is from Napier to North Street, not Eric Street to North Street, then logically, if we then have the funding to do the master plan, we would exclude that section from Napier to Eric in the tender documents that go out for the master plan, because that's already being funded and already detailed design. We'd effectively saved money because we've got that section between Napier and Eric already detailed designed, and that would be incorporated in the tender documents associated with the path. If, however, tomorrow Council was to receive the funding to do the master plan, then we can simply amend the tender documents for either the shared path project or the master plan, so that we're not sending out tenders, asking tenderers to quote on two things that are duplicate. So that's, I suppose, how we would deal with any potential conflict, is whatever comes up first gets done, and then the balance will get done either at the master plan or the shared path. Alternatively, Council could make stage 3 from Forest to Eric, but that would delay a fair proportion, which we know is not going to be impacted, which is effectively the section between Napier and Eric, that are going to be exactly the same regardless if it's in the shared path tender or in the master plan tender. The only real issue in regards to potential sacrificial works would be that section of the master plan between Forest and Napier. So I suppose we're just trying to progress the shared path proportion of the master plan in that section that we know there will be no change. Mr. Khan, have you
Can
got
I
any-
just, before we move to Mr. Khan, I just want to ask, and Councillor Mason had her hand up and Councillor Irvine. In your first description was, if there is a thing, we'll change the tender. But what about after the tender's been awarded? If we find ourselves in, which I think is the concern.
If the first tender that's awarded, be it the shared path or the master plan, that would go to the contractor. That section of cycle path is being paid for at the moment by the federal government, and that's more likely to be out for tender sooner than the entire master plan, given the current situation. And so when we tender out the master plan, that proportion that's already been effectively tendered and awarded would be withdrawn from the master plan tender. We don't have to tender the entire master plan if the work's already been done or is already contracted to be done through another tender, by an earlier tender. We're not tendering out the entire master plan if there's sections of the master plan that are already been completed. And at the moment, it's potentially that the section between Napier and Eric could be completed before the rest of the master plan is actually even funded.
Look, you were going to ask Mr. Can, but there are a few hands up. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following on from your comments, I guess we already have funding for the shared path, so it would be ideal to use that funding for as much of the path so that our Foreshell master plan tender is less, because we don't have the funding for that at this stage. So I understand that. My question follows on from Councillor Sadler's in regards to Forest Street, because I knew there were some. So if we have detailed plans from Forest Street for the Foreshell redevelopment, or the Foreshell master plan, I should say, I know there were some concerns around the current shared path which goes behind Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club, which is very close to Forest Street. So if that starts on Marine Parade, there's also a disconnect there. Is that correct? And maybe that's through the chair to Mr. Khan, but I'm concerned about where the current path links to the detailed design that we have at Forest Street.
So the detailed design, the master plan actually finishes north of Forest Street to effectively where the Indiana lease area is. The Indiana lease area was excluded from the master plan design. And obviously there is potential for a proposal in regards to that site that council's now waiting on. And we would have to, ensure that that proposal is able to accommodate the shared path and how that then joins into the Cottesloe Surf Club. The reason that the current path and any future path has to go around or to the west of the surf club is purely we don't have tenure of that land that the Cottesloe Surf Club sits on. So we can't put a path through their land because they have a lease with the state government, not through the town, and that's the only location that we can potentially put the path. So that's why the alignment for that section is the current alignment of the current path, because either that or we bring the path onto Marine Parade effectively. But there is going to be some work need to be done once we have the next proposal, I suppose, or an agreed proposal for the Indiana site of how that connects in that section. But that section is not part of the current master plan because the Indiana site was excluded from the master plan design. Mr. Khan, have you got any comments to add?
No, Mr. Scott, you've explained it very well.
Councillor Irvine, you had...
Yeah, through the chair, to the CEO, just firstly, congratulations on obtaining the grant funding to yourself and the administration. It's a big achievement. Just trying to understand, I don't see anywhere the overall amount of what the grant funding was. Do you recall?
So in broad terms, the grant funding was $4.2 million, and the council has to contribute an additional $200,000. So in rough terms, it's $4.4 million. with the town's contribution, which we are seeking separate funding for, of only $200,000.
So the cost to the town ultimately will be only 200,000. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Harkins, you can.
Thank you. Through the chair to CEO or Mr Khan. Following on from Councillor Sadler's points, I understand about the construction, that the rationale for that, but the detailed design, if the design's already done, then we don't need to include the detailed design in this format, do
Potentially
we?
not. Well, we don't necessarily need to go and get it redesigned because we've got that detailed design. It's, the consultation is more about the I suppose, the alignment of the path, how it's, and asking for comments from the community. In general, we're trying to keep to the current alignment to minimise disturbance for other green infrastructure, other issues. That correct, Mr. Khan?
Okay,
Through the chair, yes, that's correct, Mr. Scott.
thank you.
Councillor Sadler?
Look, no further questions. I am happy to move my alternate motion, but possibly with slight tweaking to align back with the stages that the administration suggested, following their explanations. So I can read out the...
Yeah, Councillor Sadler, your amendment seems to be quite different now to the officer's recommendation. In relation to paragraph 1, dealing with stage 1 and stage 2 and stage 3. So I'm not sure.
So it's an alternate councillor motion, and the stages, I had to send this out last night when I had received either questions back from the administration or had a chance to ask questions. So if I were able to read out what I proposed, and then we can decide whether there's a seconder for the motion.
Well, you have to read it to us first.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
asking if I could read it.
Could we have the...
screen now.
yeah, good. It's up on the screen. Yeah, Councillor Sadler.
So thank you.
Are you going to be using the one with my contribution?
So I was planning on incorporating Councillor Thomas's minor changes, and then speaking to my rationale.
Okay, so we'll go through it slowly so that Ms Pilkington can pick up any changes to what we have in front of us.
Thank you. So my motion is that Council endorses the following principles regarding the Marine Parade shared path. The delivery stages to be in the following order. Stage 1, south of Forest Street, which is Curtin Avenue to Forest Street. Stage 2, north of Napier Street to North Streets. So that's a very slight change because that's actually going back to what the administration has said.
So, Councillor, so the word Eric is replaced
Eric
twice
is
with
replaced by to Napier.
in both, yep.
Yeah. Stage 3, Foreshore Precinct, Forest to Napier Streets.
Change Eric to Napier. Point 2.
Just if you hold for a moment.
Get rid of Eric in the brackets. Point 3, Forest to Napier, in brackets. Forest to Napier. Is that correct,
Okay.
Councillor Sadler? Yeah.
And then if you continue for the benefit
So
of...
the second principle, stages 1 and 2 aim to minimise the creation of new assets by following the existing alignment where safe and feasible. Stage 3 is built to the Marine Parade Foreshore Master Plan scope, in brackets with the road alignment, to minimise sacrificial works. D, this Foreshore Master Plan element of the shared path is connected, to be connected via crossing points to the Eric Street shared path at the Eric Street Marine Parade intersection. Both shared path and on-road environments require consideration as part of the consultation to inform future planning. Engagement is to include a very high-level visual summary and an aspirational survey that assists the community and the town to achieve a design that balances site constraints, diversity of path users, and integrates with the Foreshore Master Plan.
Were you planning on?
I apologise. Yes, sorry.
Can you read paragraph
I'll read
again?
the. D is actually, sorry, the Foreshore Master Plan element of the shared path is to be connected via crossing points to the Eric Street path at the Eric Street Marine Parade intersection, including a pedestrian crossing.
Can you go slowly, please?
Including a pedestrian crossing that connects directly with the Eric Street shared path to the Marine Parade
but I
shared
haven't
path. E, I've already stated. F, engagement is to include both a very high-level visual summary and a survey that assists the town and the community to achieve a design that balances site constraints, enhances safety and public amenity for foreshore and for users of all ages and abilities, and integrates with the Foreshore Master Plan. Then point 2, notes that the community engagement plan will be circulated amongst elected members prior to the commencement of public consultation. And 3, requests the Chief Executive Officer to appoint a community engagement consultant with expertise in active transport design and communication to assist the town with the public consultation.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Sadler, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you. So the alternate councillor motion aligns very closely with the motion as amended by the administration, which actually sets out the stages. But what it does is flesh things out a little bit, which, including things for the benefit of the community, which were the high-level principles, so that people could understand what the aspirations were. I think there's some significant concern in the community that we might be aiming for very much a high-speed off-road principal shared path, that would be a duplication of what's happening at on the shared path to Fremantle. So it's actually drawing out those principles so that people can see that this is actually much more about a community asset for all ages and abilities to actually really enhance the foreshore. And I say breaking down the project as I have now that I've got that information from the administration. It's just so that people can understand the stages, and so that the officer's recommendation stands alone and is translatable in that regard. Including as of those high-level principles regarding engagement also assists the administration and the engagement consultant in guiding the project. It actually reduces the risk that the project might stall because the community feels like they're not being heard. So I think that this is a really important project. The administration's been incredibly successful and persistent in getting funding for this, and it would be really unfortunate if we risked derailing it because we didn't have broad community understanding of the principles, and also that people who may use it in a very different way from a bike rider actually don't have that sense of place that they need the foreshore to represent for them. So looking at the areas and getting consultation around areas such as children's playgrounds, so we actually have a nice sense of place there. Having those principles drawn out will be really important for this being a successful project. I think the point that we've put in there with regard to considering what residents would like with regard to the on-road environment is an important thing to obtain as part of the engagement, because it also forms part of the riding network. And this might guide future consultation. So it's slightly outside of the scope of the off-road shared path that was being contemplated, but it's a really integral part of the whole environment. So if we want to make sure that people who want to ride fast along Marine Parade are not using the shared path, we've actually got to understand and have some guidance about how we create a safe on-ride space for them in future. That's why I thought while you're actually doing a consultation, you'd ask about both things. So I urge your support about a slightly fleshed out alternate motion, which actually really has the same underlying principles that the administration has in terms of order and requesting a support for a community engagement consultant. Thank you.
Councillor Thomas, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, I'd support the alternative motion. As Councillor Sadler said, it's a fantastic opportunity for the town to enhance the connectivity and amenity of the area and build towards the Foreshore Master Plan. And I think there's an opportunity, if we do this consultation right, to bring the community on board and really get the most out of this. You know, with opportunities for safer interactions between pedestrians and other path users and other users of the different activity spaces along the recreational route. I think the additions really do help to set some of the guiding principles of what we want to achieve, and will help really shape the next stage, which is the consultation. I also think that being specific that we want to include the pedestrian crossing that crosses directly onto the Eric Street shared path is a really important point, because connectivity from east-west and from other parts of Cottesloe onto the path needs to be direct and safe. I think it also really highlights that it's about achieving the overall best outcome for foreshore users and path users of all ages and abilities. And I think the other point that we've added, that has been added in there, regarding finding the best consultants to assist with the consultation, having that expertise in active transport design and communication will really, really help us through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for a moment, we've had a mover and a seconder, they've both spoken, and I've seen Councillor Wilinko's hand, and now...
I just have a question.
Sorry,
Is yours a question?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you go first.
I think, sorry, I have a couple of questions. The first one is at point E. I think the confusion arose in my mind because it says both shared path on road. The on's supposed to be an and then, is it? Yeah. So it's both shared path and on-road environments require consideration. Is that what you're saying?
Thank you for that, correcting that typo, Councillor Lenko, yes.
And further to that, so just so I can clarify, the on-road environment, this might be a term of art that I'm not really familiar with. So you're talking about shared path environment, and then the Marine Parade itself is the on-road environment, is it?
Correct, just for the consultation, just so that we can understand who uses what and what any challenges are from a safety point of view, just for the consultation.
Okay. And then, if I might, another question. So, and this might be just coming out of the chain here, but originally the recommendation was to endorse principles to lead to a final concept. That then changed to endorse the preparation of a concept plan. I'm wondering if this just stays with principles. Is it the point that it should be endorses the following principles regarding the Marine Parade shared path for a concept plan for public consultation? Is that what we're really trying to say here? 'Cause otherwise it's just left as principles, and then suddenly we talk about a community engagement plan.
I'm happy for
Put your mic on.
I'm happy for the preamble that the administration has written for point 1 to be swapped in. That was sent out after I sent out mine. So if that makes greater clarity, sorry for that. If my seconder would agree, just to swap that out.
Sorry, I've got one more question if I can.
I think, yeah, and we'll come to that now, just because I've got Ms Pilkington trying to keep up.
Sure.
Councillor Thomas, you're comfortable with that? Thank you.
One A and B, and put that over into the current alternative motion.
It's just the preamble.
Yeah, it's not A
Matthew.
and B.
It's not A and B, just...
Okay, just the preamble then, so just the one, go back to the other, go back to the other.
Yeah.
Okay, just the one to the column. That's it. And that's going... Slice, put A above A. And get rid of the endorses, the unbolded endorses.
you need that council
Just
ahead
above
of.
it, just put that council.
Capital C. Yes. Endorses the preparation, the concept plan.
And another typo has just been identified at point F, where it says a survey, not an survey, when a word's been deleted. So first line of point F, Ms Pilkington.
Sorry, say that again.
The second to last word in the line, which is F,
Yep.
says an, and it should say a.
Up to the top. I think that what you've got there under point A, that should be removed, is that right? Because that's now. Following stages, you said that.
So just point A.
So point A is deleted, is that, that's?
You don't delete A, just delete what's set up.
If you could delete what's said after A, that line, but leave A there.
Well, what do you mean?
No.
Can we have, please, just,
I think that can still stand, to be honest.
so we are having an order of works set out in the motion, so it does include the order in which the works are to be done. Okay, yes. Councillor Irvine.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
We're on
We're
hold.
still,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
apologies. So I've got Councillor Walinko, then Councillor Harkins, and now Councillor Irvine. Sorry.
oh, thank you. So then just going to F, I just want to clarify the purpose of F, because it seems to me that it's saying engagements to include a high level of summary and survey that, one, assists everyone to achieve a design that balances site constraints, two, enhances safety and public amenity for all ages, and three, integrates the foreshore master plan. So are those goals that we're trying to achieve then through the community consultation, or are those goals that we're trying to achieve through the concept plan in the first place, or just overall goals for this project? I'm confused as to what that's getting to.
I think the word design maybe we've used the word. Could we go back to the beginning of the? Can you scroll down, please? Concept plan. So I think what we're after is a concept plan that achieves all that. Is that not correct? Rather than you've used the word design.
Use the word summary and survey.
So I have taken the words from the administration with regard to high-level visual summary in terms of what they're going to be asking the community to look at rather than a detailed draft design. And then, as I say, what the engagement is to do is actually to let the community see what's possible and see what the constraints are in terms of the compromises that might need to be made with regard to path width, amount of green space, parking, all those sorts of things. So that's what it's just asked. It's just so that the engagement person is asking people, because this is a site which has got pre-existing things there, including the path. So that's just saying that when you ask the community what compromises they're prepared to make to achieve something they really want, then they give you good information. Okay, so that's what it's saying is actually there's some balances which are going to need to make, because what an old person wants might be different from what a on-road, lycrocyclist is thinking that they are going to get. So you're just saying that that's what the whole purpose of engagement is, asking about that so you can make compromises and end up with results. So I apologise, this is loss of standing orders, but I thought that was actually reasonably clear, that that's what you're trying to do with when you engage, rather than tell people what's going to be there. You end up with a different outcome, and you end up with people understanding compromise because it's a pre-existing location.
I think we are still operating within standing orders. I took it that question was directed to you through me, so I was quite comfortable with it running that way.
Thank you.
Councillor Harkins.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have a question to the administration. On point D, the second last line, include a pedestrian crossing that connects directly from Eric Street, blah, blah, blah. The pedestrian crossing, I'm assuming that has to be main roads endorsed anyway, and part A of the question. Part B of the question is, would that be included in the funding, to fund for the...
Through the chair, definitely would require main roads approval for a pedestrian crossing. Mr. Khan can maybe answer in regards to the funding.
Through the chair, with regards to funding, because it connects two paths, it is in my view that it will be included as part of the funding, but we can always check with the Australian government and come back to council.
On that note, because it requires main roads funding, do we need to water down that part of the resolution? Because if main roads come back and say, no, for whatever reason, you can't have a pedestrian crossing because of sight lines and various other things, I'm just wondering if it needs to be watered down or not.
Possibly, through the chair, possibly just to ensure that there's no expectations created that maybe it should have something to say subject to main roads approval, or so that it's upfront rather than should main roads not approve it, an expectation may have been created that council would then need to explain.
Are you happy with... Oh, it's not mine.
Councillor Harkins, are you happy to include that subject to...
Sadly, yes.
So what did I say, Harkins?
Yeah.
It's just you look so much alike. So Councillor Sadler...
You're going to include that?
You're happy to include that, Councillor Thomas?
Subject to main roads.
So we'll...
I'll fix that up now. Subject to main roads.
Approval. No, consideration and approval.
Well, I think just... Oh, okay.
When it's regular roads.
Right. So that's been incorporated by agreement. Councillor Irvine?
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether there's any scope in the motion to sort of, make a statement about the limiting of the funding overall. It says that we've got a budget allocation of 200,000, but it doesn't state the number. I'm just, wondering whether the motion could include some sort of cap on the spend.
I guess if you're wanting to move an amendment, you can consider that, but I think that this is actually about principles, and we've already got a funding agreement, so it's not something I'd be sort of contemplating at this stage. So,
Councillor Mason?
Thank you. I had a question, perhaps through the chair, Madam Mayor, with regards to point 3. Of the amendment, of the alternate motion, which says the added bit which differs from the officer recommendation, which is that the consultant have expertise in active transport design and communication. I'm wondering the purpose of that. We have heard that we want to maximise the benefit for foreshore users and park users and green space, and I feel like if someone has expertise in active transport, if that is necessary, we wouldn't want them trying to sway the community or to have any unintended bias because that's their background. I think a community engagement consultant is to engage with the community. I don't know if they need that background, so I just would like to query the purpose of that.
I'm going to ask Councillor Sadler if you've got any comments. A little bit unorthodox, but I I'm going to allow you to address that through the chair.
My understanding, it was Councillor Thomas who sort of suggested that being put in. My understanding, having spoken to people who do engineering works in this area, is that by getting someone who's got an interest in our active transport, it's precisely what they do is look at all the broader things and actually make sure that you maximise the benefits to everybody, while actually still ensuring that you look at the different form of transport users, whereas some people actually then neglect looking at the elderly person and what their needs are and the young person and what their needs are. So it's actually quite the opposite. They're actually really broad in their brief to make sure that we don't have somebody who just thinks, because they don't have expertise in this area, that we're just looking at it as a bike path. People who have got expertise in active transport go, this is a broad community facility. So it's actually sort of the opposite from what you would think. They're actually much more holistic and looking at it as shared spaces, looking at it, they've got a whole framework about movement and place, and they look at things as places and not just as transport corridors. So they really focus on making it good for everybody, is my understanding, and to get a better outcome.
Okay. Any more questions? And have we've got, everyone's happy. Sorry, Councillor Heath, did you have your hand up there?
I just do have a question on the first couple of lines there, but it's gone off the screen now, so I just can't see it. Did we lose the fact that we were talking about principles, or just endorses the preparation of concept plan for public consultation? Does that make sense, reflecting the following project scope for each of the project stages? Just checking if Councillor Sadler is comfortable with that, because we lost her principles, but maybe that was the point of that change.
And principles after concept plan. Thank you very much, Councillor Heath, I think.
And principles, Ms. Pilkington. Councillor, that's really... Councillor Thomas, are you fine with the...
Yes.
Yep. Any more comments? I shouldn't say really comments. I should say, does anyone want to speak to the motion? Questions? Yes, Councillor
No, I'd like to speak against the motion, the alternative motion.
Yep.
Look, in principle, I agree, but I just find that the motion itself has gotten quite complex and unnecessarily builds in a variety of different things, which, given the officer recommendation amended concept, seems much simpler and straightforward. First of all, I'm not sure why we're adding in Eric Street and not other streets that need to be connected. It seems to just sort of stand out on its own suddenly. Secondly, both the shared path and on-road environments require consideration as part of consultation. Yes. Presumably that'll be picked up in the community engagement plan. Engagements to include a high-level visual summary, survey with all these goals. Again, presumably that'll be picked up in the community engagement plan, which will be circulated amongst elected members prior to commencement. So we'll have an opportunity to look at those sorts of elements. So I just find that the amendment, the alternative motion, is unnecessarily detailed and restrictive. And finally, I agree, the idea of expertise in active transport, I just want to make sure we have good quality community engagement consultants and whatever, in that field. I mean, then they're doing whatever work needs to be done in whatever area we need to have them done. It's good community consultation, not necessarily with a particular focus on the subject. So I don't disagree with the ideas here, but I feel like, and I think it's a reflection of the fact that this has only just come to council. We didn't have a chance to go through this in the agenda forum. So I just think it's just the result of sort of last minute trying to pull something together here. But I suggest that the officer recommended amended version is a more straightforward motion.
Thank you, Councillor Valenco. Anyone else want to? Councillor Harkins.
Firstly, can I suggest through the chair that Councillor Wellenko might want to foreshadow the officer's recommendation if he's... No, it's
No.
not. So just be aware. I would like to put up a slight amendment because it's not busy enough. So, so the CEO was helping me with it this afternoon. I apologise because it was very, very late. But what I'm trying to do is strengthen up point F, the engagement, because I want to, the wording, sorry, you'll just have to indulge me, along the lines of request the community engagement plan include consideration and discussion of the following matters should the proposed share path not align with the current path. A, financial implications, which is future capital renewal and maintenance costs. B, potential gain or loss of existing green infrastructure. And C, potential gain or loss of existing car parking. Now, I know some of it's in there, but I'm just wanting to strengthen that up. Mrs Pilkington does have that.
It is on the screen.
It is on the screen. There's a bit of repetition.
Number 4 will need to be changed to reflect the right numbering sequence. But
Yeah. So
So
you
where's
could
number
put it, it's up there, it's number 4, but on Councillor Sadler's motion, you could either include it in F or at number 2 or something along those lines. If I've got a seconder, I'll talk to it. Councillor Mason, second it. Can I
Okay,
talk to
Councillor-
it?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Can you just clarify exactly? I mean, I've just got
Well-
a number 4 with that there.
Okay.
I don't know how it
So-
relates to the...
all right, well,
through the chair, it should be a separate dot point at the end of the current
That's what I would suggest.
alternative motion,
yeah, so
whatever that number would be.
So the alternate, so number 4?
Yep.
Okay, so for the point of discussion, make it number 4. So what I'm trying to avoid is that this goes out for public consultation, and like a lot of you might have seen on social media already, everyone's saying, oh, we want a dual use path, we want it to do this, we want it to do that. Everyone, in most people's minds, it's going to be this fantastic, amazing, a bit like, as you mentioned, the PSP Mark II that goes along Marine Parade, and we've been told it can't be that. So what I'm trying to say to the community is when it goes out, the engagement, the consultation must say it can't go, for example, in front of the surf club because of this. It can go on the road, but you'll lose 6 parking spots. It can't go here and here because we'd have to knock down 4 trees. So just because people will, a bit like was happening with the consultation of the toilets, I think we need to be ahead of what the community are thinking, because otherwise why do consultation? If we do consultation, they say, I think it should be this, this, this and this, and we're like, well, hang on a minute, the 4 million is not going to touch the sides of doing this, this and this. So I'm keen for the engagement to say these are the constraints in writing. So that's what I'm trying to get up, but probably not very eloquently.
So if we got that now as an amendment, that is that the alternate motion be amended to include new paragraph 4. Yeah. My eyesight's not good enough to read up there. I'm just going to go to Councillor Mason, who seconded. Do you have any?
I was just saying, I was going to say I'm actually happy with the permission of the my seconder to incorporate it.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Yep. Okay. So that is the.
I wasn't trying to cut you off, Councillor Mason. I was just, yeah.
Actually, may I, Madam Mayor, ask a question?
Yeah.
Because if Councillor Wellenko foreshadows the officer recommendation, I would second Councillor Harkins to add that as the 4 on the original officer recommation.
Well, we
If
can-
Councillor
yeah,
Sadler's
yeah.
motion does not pass.
Yeah, but we can pick that up when we're, thank you. So I think that we have kind of thrashed this out quite a bit, and I think that we are ready to put it to the vote. That is the alternate motion with all the bits and pieces added in that have now been adopted as part of the alternate.
So I haven't commented generally on the motion. Can I have my say on the substantive?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Just the reason why I will be supporting the alternate motion, because you'll notice in the administration's revised one that they sent out, you must read point A, because it says A, stage 1, blah, 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 being done to the current path alignment. So it's no flexibility as far as saying it might go round the surf club or something. We might come up with alternatives. So be aware that the officer's recommendation is sticking to the current path alignment, whereas the reason I'm supporting the alternate councillor motion is that it's fleshing out, well, maybe it won't in all spots follow the current alignment. So I think we need that flexibility that may come out with engagement, that it may not follow that path, which is why I'm supporting the alternate motion primarily. Thank you.
Okay. Your hand's up, Councillor Sadler.
Was only just to sum up a couple of points in response to Councillor Wilenko, if there's nobody else wanting to speak for or against. Look, thank you, and just thank you, Councillor Wilenko. I think that it is a little bit more complex, but sometimes that ends up with a better result, specifically with regard to the Eric Street intersection. The reason why that was pulled out is because we've actually invested a lot, and so has the state government, creating a shared path along Eric Street, and connectivity is what actually makes cycle networks and footpaths and roads actually work. So it's really important, if we're going to get the return on investment for the Marine Parade path, that we actually bring our users in on Eric Street and that they can safely cross. So that was a really important point there. Other points, such as actually looking at how other people are going to get onto this path in terms of getting onto the shared path, often actually involves using a little bit of the road. So actually drawing that out is important, which is something which hasn't been fleshed out. I was really keen to actually leave it a little bit more open rather than saying that the path fully aligned with the existing one, because there's areas where it's very dangerous at the moment. Down around North Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club, that's actually the current shared path goes in front of North Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club, which is a major conflict point around the Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club. Those are really, really difficult spots, and if we actually are fully committed to those, we may actually be able to free up some green space there by actually having that not be the path, or we may need there may be some very localised areas where you may need a small amount of separation. And again, we need to understand the financial constraints that limit that, which is why I was actually very happy to incorporate Councillor Harkin's motion, because where I just merely mentioned, I think, constraints, she's actually fleshed out what those constraints are. So for those reasons, I'm really keen to that people support the alternate motion, which is basically saying what the administration wants, but with a little bit more flexibility to make sure we end up with a safe result, which is actually welcoming for all road users and actually also enhance and complements the Foreshore Master Plan. So yeah, please support this. I think we'll end up with a better result if we have a slightly more flexibility and a little bit more information for the consultants as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put that to the vote. Could we get Councillor Heath back on the screen, please? I'm going to put that to the vote. All in favour of the alternate motion, that is Councillor Mason, Thomas, Sadler and Harkins and Mayor Young, and against is Councillor Irvine and Wilenko, so that is passed. Thank you. I'm going to ask if we could have a 5-minute break. Can I please move 5-minute break? Councillor Harkins, all in. Thank you. I think I'm actually allowed to do that anyway, but
adjournment, so just stop the online. Stop the live stream, pause it, because they've adjourned the meeting for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Half an hour, we'll never get back.
Back live now. All elected members are back in the room and Councillor Heath is on the screen there. We have just finished item 10.1.8. So I'll move to 10.1.9, budget amendment foreshore handrails on page 40, with the officer's recommendation on page 45. Do I have a mover? Yes, Councillor Walinko. And a seconder? Councillor Irvine. Councillor Walinko, do you want to speak to this?
Well, look, I think it needs to be done because I appreciate that it's a case of potentially just sunk costs that we're not going to recover, but I think it's a matter of safety and speaking to the right thing here? I feel like I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
blank
we're talking
stares
about the
here.
foreshore
Yeah,
handrails.
yeah, okay, good, all right, okay, good, I'll continue. And I appreciate that, we're looking at $12,000, but I earlier asked a question as to what it would look like if we only put in temporary fencing, and I just can't see that our community is going to be happy with us putting temporary fencing along that section, which is a highly used section and a highly visible section of the foreshore, for who knows how long. If we're not going to, we're continuing to try to get funding, obviously, but we don't know that we're going to get it, and we don't have anything assured yet. So I don't think we have much choice, to be honest. I just don't think that temporary fencing is a viable alternative.
Thank you, Councillor Valenko. Councillor Irvine?
Yeah, totally agree with Councillor Walenko. Such an iconic area, highly photographed, highly visited. So, before we could be shovel-ready with the foreshore master plan, it's some time off. So I fully support the investment in that maintenance of those handrails in that area, as it doesn't look particularly good. And I think it sort of reflects on the town of Cottesloe if we don't maintain those assets.
Anyone want to speak against? Councillor Sadler?
Thank you very much. And look, I would like to speak against and foreshadow a deferral motion, deferring it until the November 2025 Ordinary Council meeting. And the reason why I'd like to defer is actually for similar reasons to my fellow councillors wanting to progress. While it's been stated that it is a safety issue, the administration has said it's open to us to not do that at this point and to put up temporary fencing. We had a picture sent of very high 2.1 metre fencing, but I think that would be open to us to find out whether we do actually have fencing which is not 2.1 metres high, but which is actually the same height as the existing fencing. The town of Cottesloe ratepayers have already spent $1 million on what is actually a shovel-ready project. We're not trying to get it shovel-ready, it's shovel-ready, and on the detailed design, and that's got broad community support. And in addition to that, we've been already spending several, I think it's over $100,000 on other sacrificial works, those including the recent wall, which has been shown to be giving away. I think it was a year before that, it was doing a lot of repairs to the asphalt on Car Park 1. Now that's over $100,000 of ratepayers' money, which could be spent on something else. And I would much prefer to actually continue to engage really constructively with both the state and federal government to actually obtain these funds, and highlighting the fact that this is actually not a foreshore which would be just benefit from improvement, but which is a foreshore which is actually crumbling at this stage and really needs investment. And I think that it's important to continue to make our case that Cottesloe foreshore is equally deserving of the funding that Esperance, Broome, Mandurah, Rockingham, Geraldton and Scarborough have received, either from the state or from the federal government or from both. And that we really deserve to make sure that when people come to Cottesloe, it looks as beautiful as it does in the arrival hall at the international airport. It looks stunning there. And I think that we need to really articulate that we're missing an opportunity if we don't use the dilapidated state of our asset as one of the reasons why we're continuing to constructively advocate to the state and federal government for the funding which is deserved and needed, not just by Cottesloe, but actually for the West Australian and Australian communities and international visitors who come to our town. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to speak in favour of the motion? Councillor Mason?
Yes, I would like to speak for the motion. I agree with Councillor Walenko and Irvine. I wouldn't call the injections into the wall sacrificial. I would not call this sacrificial. I don't think we can afford to risk public safety to make a point for funding. And I think that $20,000 is a small price, and realistically, the time frame of when we can expect the foreshore master plan to become a reality is not short term. I also would like to say that I had another point and I've forgotten. That our community just would not be happy with a temporary fence long term. We've already had temporary fencing down there for the Rotto Swim and other big events and during our summer, and I think the community is fed up, and I think that we can spend this small amount whilst we all realise the benefits of the Foreshore Master Plan. We are all on the same page as to why our iconic Cottesloe should look better. Unfortunately, it does not. That is the reality, and we need to spend this 20 grand to keep people safe in the meantime.
Councillor Harkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be speaking against the motion, and I will be endorsing Councillor Sadler's motion if that gets up. I think Councillor Sadler's made many valid points. Just to reiterate, and something Councillor Irvine mentioned, that it's so often photographed. And yes, that's true, but if there's a fence there, then it won't be so photographed. So, you know, the state government are using that iconic shot a lot, and I think we need to show that it is crumbling. The other thing that we have talked about as a council is if it looks like we aren't going to get the funding for the whole foreshore, perhaps we need to look at going piecemeal, and probably the first thing to do would be that area. So I think certainly sacrificial is a valid point, because as part of the Foreshore Master Plan, those terraces they get widened out, and it'll look very attractive. So $20,000 is $20,000, but I think the point of having a fence there to show this is infrastructure in our prime beach that needs assistance from the state is important. And I think obviously we'd get a fence that is safe, and there's plenty of examples of safe fences. So I think it can be made safe, but I don't think we should keep filling in what is crumbling infrastructure. Thank you.
Councillor Thomas.
Question through the chair regarding the suggested temporary fencing. Question one, would smaller fencing to the same height of the current fence be available, and what would be the indicative cost of that temporary fencing?
Through the chair, my understanding is the temporary fencing comes in standard heights, but Mr. Khan might be able to provide some context.
Through the chair, so with the current temporary fencing that's proposed, it's 2.4 wide, 2.1 meters height. The alternative for council to potentially consider, which is at a much lower height, is crowd control barriers that can be used. In terms of cost and sort of safety standards, I'll probably need to investigate that a little bit more before I'm able to respond to council's query in that regard.
I am going to speak again for the officer's recommendation, and I absolutely 100% share Councillor Sadler's frustration. It is incredibly frustrating that money has been and continues to be poured into other projects around the state and around the country, and this asset that it's used by both state and federal governments to promote tourism and to draw people into Cottesloe is maintained by 6,500 Cottesloe ratepayers. It is appalling. I think that this the state of the beachfront does not reflect badly on the town of Cottesloe. It reflects badly on the state and federal government. I am very tempted by the logic, but I feel that we would be potentially cutting off our noses to spite our faces by subjecting our community to, and all the users, people from overseas who come to visit Cottesloe Beach deserve to see it looking good, and at least not having temporary fencing and unsightly, orange bases, and people coming from the regions, people coming from interstate, deserve much more than that. I think it punishes them. And while I really get the frustration and I get the strategic approach that's being suggested by Councillor Sadler, but I really think we end up venting our anger, almost the practical outcome of our frustration impacts on the users of the beach, not on the people who are in a position to actually help us. So for that reason, I will support the motion because I do agree with Councillor Wilinko and Irvine that we need to do it, sadly, and it has to come out of the pockets of the 6,500 Cottesloe ratepayers who pay for absolutely everything down at Cottesloe Beach with the exception of the shark barrier. So that's my 2 bobs worth. Does anyone else want to speak to it? I'll put it to the vote. Yes, yes, it was your, yeah.
Thank you. Just to clarify, it's 12,000, not 20,000, so it's not quite as bad still. And I would just echo, I think the mayor's put it very well. We could sit there with temporary fencing trying to make a political point, and I don't think that's a good presentation for our community. I think, yes, it's crumbling. Yes, there's problems, and we need to keep making the state aware of that. And yet again, send this motion on to the state and point out that here we are, Cottesloe ratepayers paying $12,000 for an asset that really should be being covered by the state. But it's a safety issue. We need to do it. And temporary fencing is something that you put in place when you've got a construction project underway. Presumably, there will be some temporary fencing there while we replace the fence. But then to have just temporary fencing there as a long-term solution, it just doesn't make sense to me. Thanks.
I'll put the officer's recommendation to the vote. All in favour? And have we got Councillor Heath is there?
Yes.
And against is Councillor Sadler. Yeah. Were you for the? Yeah. So that's just for.
That's what debates.
Yeah, I know. For the purpose of your notes, that was all in favour, save Councillor Sadler. So the motion is passed. Thank you. Okay.
10.1.11 council elections.
Yes. 10.1.11, 2025 local government elections. That's on page 48 with the officer's recommendation on page 51.
Yep.
It might be a bit more than that. Yep, the officer's recommendation is on page 51. This has been called up because it needs an absolute majority. Councillor Sadler, Councillor Harkins, did anyone want to speak against this motion? I'll put it to the vote then. All in favour? Passed unanimously.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Pulled out. And we move now to the section for which the CEO has recommended the meeting be closed to the public on the basis that, and I'll ask you, Mr.
Through the
CEO.
chair, before council potentially closes the meeting, could I make some response to the early announcement by the mayor about my leaving, so that potentially the gallery can hear my comments?
Yes, please.
If that's okay. So.
Oh, I don't know. That sounds scary. Okay, so your right of reply.
Yeah. Through the chair, firstly, I'd like to thank the mayor for her very kind comments. It has been an absolute joy and privilege to be the CEO of the town of Cottesloe for the last 4 3/4 years. And I do believe we have achieved a fair bit in that time, and it's been an honour to be part of that. I'd like to thank council. This council is a very functional council, and I think if other councillors were to observe how council works, shown tonight that there can be disagreement, but it's not. It's a civil disagreement through debate, and not taken personally, and not carried by factions or things like that. And you know, it's been an absolute pleasure for my tenure here to have a functional council who is not basing decisions on who's on what faction, etc. And you know, it doesn't mean you don't have to disagree or you have to agree with everything, but have a civilised debate. And it's, as a CEO, it's nice not to have that sort of politicking happening on the sidelines in regards to doing my job. And I would welcome other councils, who maybe not in the same situation, to come and observe our council meetings, our agenda forums, on how a functional council can work. I'd also like to thank my staff, particularly my executive team that I work very closely with, and basically do a lot of the work. I'm just there to say yes, no, maybe change this, but you know, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, just putting an agenda together, but also achieving a lot of the projects that the Mayor spoke about. As CEO, yes, I get to, you know, sign the tenders or sign the cheques to pay for things, but, you know, the engineering team, they're the ones who actually built the skate park or managed that project, and the parks that were, playgrounds that were talked about. Likewise, it's the regulatory services team that does the town planning strategy and the precinct plan, etc. And finally, you know, corporate services comes down to making sure everyone gets paid, is the corporate services team putting together a lot of items to council. And, you know, the executive team has been throughout my tenure, has been very supportive and been very, great to work with. Also like to just hold out a little bit for my PA. I don't know, for those that haven't had a PA before, the amount of work that actually a PA does in just managing the day-to-day information flow that comes in and out of my office. Jackie has always been very loyal, very honest, prepared to tell me when she thinks I'm not doing the right thing. And it's been a pleasure working with Jackie. And likewise, the community. Look, I know the community has different views about how things have progressed over the last 4.5 years. That's expected. We're a community, the Cottesloe community is like any other community. There's different points of view. But in the end, I think generally the community does want the betterment of Cottesloe and is trying to work with council to achieve some greatness. So, and I'm sure the new CEO, Mark Newman, will actually help progress on that journey that the community's on with the council plan in achieving these goals. So just like to make those final comments. Thank you, it's been a pleasure, and I'll be keeping an eye on the agendas and things like that, and you never know, might turn up in the gallery in the future to ask some quirky questions just to keep council on its toes. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Phew. So we'll go to the items for which... we can put the live streaming back on, and I will read the resolution. So I haven't closed the meeting yet, so the resolution that was passed by Council in respect of item 13.1.1 Seaview Golf Club Clubhouse Redevelopment Design Solutions is as follows. That Council by absolute majority approves the Seaview Golf Club Redevelopment Advisory Committee's recommendation. 1, approves a budget amendment of $33,945. A, funded through the property reserve that has an outstanding balance of $188,697. And B, increase the approved budget within account 37.1171.2 Seaview Golf Club Clubhouse redevelopment feasibility from $75,000 to $108,945. And 2, request the Chief Executive Officer to include a request for suggestions for off-course improvement and activities in the surrounding area of the clubhouse as part of the analysis for the remaining elements of Stage 2. And 3, endorses the 3 solutions attached for the purpose of economic analysis to develop benefit to cost ratios and market sounding for each design option. And that has been passed by Council. Then the resolution that was passed in respect of item 13.1.2 bus shelter advertising expression of interest is as follows. That Council 1, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to accept the expression of interest submissions mentioned under option 1 within the officer's comment and invite only these selected suppliers to participate in the invitation to tender process. 2, request the Chief Executive Officer to present an item no later than the July elected members workshop detailing the design fundamentals and any other strategic matters required as part of the invitation to tender documents. And 3, authorises the Mayor, elected members and the town's administration to disclose the identity of the successful proponents who will be invited to tender. And I'll ask Mr. Khan to please read out the identity of the successful proponents that will be invited to tender.
Through the Chair, Mayor Young, the successful proponents will be invited to tender are Cloud Outdoors, U Media, RMG and Windboard and Wisestop. Thank you, Mayor Young.
Thank you. So that being the end of the agenda, I declare the meeting closed at 8:18 p.m. Thank you, Councillor Heath, for going without whatever you do up in Exmouth at this time of night to attend the meeting. It's much appreciated. And have a lovely time up there.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, bye. Okay.